Well, good Saturday morning to you, and welcome to Coach's Corner on this Icebox Days weekend. And boy, pretty nice morning out there, near 30 degrees. And obviously, the Icebox Days organizers probably not too happy that it's this warm, but I'm going to take every day like this in January that we can get and enjoy it. Of course, the 5K race just got started moments ago, so if you're out and about driving around, please be careful of the runners. The 5K starts at 9 o'clock and the 10K starts at 10 o'clock, so please be careful out there as the runners take advantage of this day. Probably not the greatest conditions to run in, a little bit sloppy, but obviously a little warmer day and a good day probably to be out for the runners. Let's go back to last night in a game that was heard on K104 and online at rjbroadcasting.com. The Bronco girls hockey team played North Shore for the second time this season, and they got their second win over the Storm this season last night by a final score of 3-0. Grace Wegner got her second consecutive shutout. This time she had 11 saves. It was scoreless after one, and it took until 11:49 gone in the second period before Captain Amber Thielander scored her 29th goal of the season shorthanded. Maria Vollum and Grace Bragg got the assist. A minute and 27 seconds later, Thielander gets her 30th goal of the season, and she went up 2-0. That goal was assisted by assistant captain Kiana Kittleson. The junior Morgan Rasmussen gave the Broncos a little more of a cushion early in the third period. 45 seconds in, she goes into the net with the puck as Emma Erickson and Thielander picked up the assist. It would end It got to 3-0 there. It ended 3-0. The Broncos are now 9-1 on the season and have 4 regular season games left, and they're all pretty big ones as the Broncos get going and looking forward into the next week. As they do that, they're going to be taking on the Hibbing Blue Jackets on Thursday down on the range, and this is a team that they tied earlier in the season, so this is a big one for seeding purposes as they go along. Last night in Aurora, the Bronco boys basketball team played down on the range for the third time in 4 nights as they were in Aurora to face Mesabi East for the second time in 15 days. You might remember back 2 weeks ago, the Broncos played the Giants at home. It was a 66-60 win for Mesabi East, and this game was no different. It was tight throughout. It went back and forth. The Broncos were down 2 points at halftime, and with 2 minutes left, they were down 54-52. It would stay that way until the final seconds, and then junior Taylor Wilson puts up a 3, and he drains it at the buzzer, and the Broncos win 55-54. Tanner Budrus led the way with 14 points, Max Olson 13, and Taylor Wilson had 12 to pace the Broncos. The Broncos host Virginia on Tuesday at the Falls High Gymnasium, and I'll be there to bring it to you on K104 and online at rjbroadcasting.com with the pregame to start right around 7 o'clock. The LBF boys were in Big Fork to face the Huskies last night, and the host team scored 63 points in the first half, and they went on to defeat the LBF Vikings by a final score of 94-55. Logan Mace led the Vikings with 19 points, Mason Borman 16, and Matt Kennedy 14. The LBF boys, they will be hosting Southridge on Monday, and I'll be down at Little Fork to bring you that one also on K104 and online at rjbroadcasting.com. In other high school scores last night, a couple of girls' games of interest. Roseau 3, Brainerd 2, and Andover beats Grand Rapids Greenway by a score of 5-2. In boys hockey, Cloquet Esco Carlton beats Roseau in overtime 4-3. Pine City over North Shore 6-3. Duluth Marshall drops a 2-0 decision to Wayzata. Red Lake Falls 6-4 over Ely. Hibbing Chisholm 1-0 over Crookston. And Lake of the Woods a 5-3 winner over Detroit Lakes. In boys basketball last night, Barnum 63, Cromwell 52, Carleton 90, Cook County 63, Hinckley all over East Central 85-59. The Broncos will face Hinckley Finlayson coming up the second weekend in February. Two Harbors 2 points better than McGregor at 65-63. Greenway all over Northland 78-35. Virginia gets a 58-45 win coming off of the loss to Northwoods on Thursday night. In case you missed that, of course, Northwoods the number 1 team in Class A. Virginia 10-1 coming into that ball game. And it was a dandy as Northwoods won 58-55. Also in boys basketball last night, Ely 50, MIB 43, Hill City 67, Northeast Range 38. Crosby Arrington beats Park Rapids by a pair of touchdowns 50-36, and Nevis gets a 78-43 win over North Home Kellier. In girls basketball last night, Aiken 54, Braham 44. Cherry Tigers, are they for real? Are they a contender out there in Class A? They get their second big win over a AA school. They beat Proctor last week. Last night they beat Virginia 63-53. I don't know. Everybody better keep their eyes open. I think Park Rapids 63, Crosby Arrington 46, and Proctor beats Mesabi East 66-54. College hockey last night, Notre Dame 4-2 over Wisconsin. Michigan shuts out Penn State 4-0. UMD and UND at Amsoil. Wish I could be there, but you've got other jobs to take care of. UMD 5-3 over the Fighting Hawks. Western Michigan 3-2 over Colorado College. In overtime, Denver shuts out Omaha 5-0, and BSU gets a 2-0 win over Ferris State. If you're a Gopher men's hockey fan, they will be at Madison Square Garden tonight as they will take on Ohio State at 7 o'clock. This is after the Gopher basketball team, plays at Madison Square Garden at 11 o'clock this morning in a basketball game. So it's going to be basketball, then clear the arena out, take the floor off, get the icing, get the boards up in the glass, or the boards are already there, the glass up, and then they play at 7 o'clock tonight. So a big game. All those games can be seen today on the Big Ten Network. In women's hockey last night, St. Cloud State beats UMD 3-2, Ohio State beats Minnesota 3-2, and Wisconsin 4-3 over Bemidji State in overtime. All three of those games, all six of those teams in the WCHA, and all one-goal games. How tight is the WCHA? Wisconsin ranked number 1 in the nation. Of course, it's Icebox Days this weekend. That's what the main thing that's going on around town today. But the Bronco boys swimming and diving team are down in Duluth today. They're at Duluth-Denfeld, actually at the middle school by Duluth-Denfeld for the True Team meet. The diving got started just moments ago, and the swimming begins at 1 o'clock. The Bronco Titan Wrestlers are out in Thief River Falls for a big invitational. That starts at 10 o'clock. The Bronco boys hockey team will be at home today at Bronco Arena as they will be taking on Duluth-Denfeld. Opening face-off is scheduled for 3 o'clock. The pregame starts at 2:40 on K104 and online at rjbroadcasting.com. The Rainy River basketball teams, they will be taking on Itasca today. The women at 1 o'clock, the men at 3 o'clock, and the Fort Francis Lakers are at home against Thunder Bay at 7:30 at Ice for Kids Arena. It is Hockey Day in Minnesota today, and the Wild will wrap things up as they take on the Tampa Bay Lightning with an 8 o'clock game. That game is coming off of a 5-day layoff for the Wild. We'll see how they fare and get things going again. You can hear that game on KGHS 12:30 a.m. again with the pregame starting at 7:45. The Wolves are at home against Toronto at 8 o'clock, and as I mentioned, the Gopher men's basketball team taking on Ohio State in a home game at Madison Square Garden at 11 a.m. on BTN. Tomorrow, of course, there's a football game, I think, or two going on you might be interested in. The Jaguars against the Patriots at a little bit after 2. The Eagles and the Vikings go off at about 5:40. You can hear both games on K104. The pregame starts at 1 o'clock, and then they'll just go back-to-back games. So if you're out fishing or whatever you're doing, and if you're not in front of the TV, you can hear everything right on K104. The Gopher women's basketball team takes on Iowa tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Our local Broncos, the Clara Palm, Lexi Graves, Abby Orrin, and Casey Myers of the Rainy River women's hockey team, they have the weekend off. Amy Orrin got an assist in a 7-0 win over Northland last Saturday. She got an assist in an 8-3 win over St. Norbert's on Tuesday. Last night they got a 0-0 tie against Stevens Point, and those two teams play again this afternoon. Lexi Edwards got a 7-1 win last weekend for Sacred Heart. Last night she gets a goal and a 10-0 win over Post, and those two teams play again this evening. Lucas DeBenedict with the Northland men's hockey team, they get a 3-2 loss last Saturday. Last night they get a win over St. Norbert's, the number 1 team in Division III, by a final score of 5-4, and they host Finlandia tonight. Abby Koschik last weekend in the Dragon Invite, she took 10th in the 100 backstroke, 11th in the 50 backstroke, and she took 11th in the 50 fly. She is off this weekend. Lexi Erickson, she's running for the St. Kate's track and field team, and what a night she had last night at the McAllister Invitational. Erickson won the high jump with a jump of 1.57 meters. Officially, college goes to meters. I went and figured that out on the internet. I didn't do the math on it myself. That's 5'1 3/4 for those of us that live in feet and inches. That jump is the 3rd best jump all time in St. Kate's history. So congratulations there. Lexi also finished 4th in the 1,000-meter run last night in a time of 3:17.68. Brianna Schaffner, Taylor Hebner, Savannah Olson, Wyatt Helgeson, and Sydney Raboyne. Brianna Taylor and Savannah White all taking part in an indoor meet in Superior today. And Sydney Raboyne last week, she took 5th place in the 3,000 meters for UND at the Thundering Herd Classic in Fargo. Today, she is in Brookings, South Dakota. It's time to take a break, and we'll come back with our first set of guests, which is the Rainy River women's basketball team. You're listening to Coach's Corner, live from Hardy's on K104 and online at rjbroadcasting.com. Welcome back to Hardy's for our second segment this morning, and we're joined by members of the Rainy River women's basketball team, head coach Dieter Humbert, Valon Mobley, Tequila DeGreat, Deja Monroe, and Devney Gross. Right? I got everybody right? Locked in there. I got it. It's all trapped in there now. We won't forget. Well, first thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about Wednesday night. This. I wasn't there. I decided I was going to take one night off this week, so don't be mad at me. But I decided I needed to stay home and get rested up for the weekend. And I missed a great comeback, Devney. It was down 52-35, I think I saw on the score sheet. Down 17 points. You guys ended up winning 62-58. What was the key?
We had to realize how bad we actually wanted it and play as a team.
I'll say it this way. Valon's been around. This is her second year. And somebody said to me about Northland and blah, 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 and I said, Northland always has a very, very good women's basketball team. How big a win is this, Deja, for this team to take down Northland at home?
It was a big win. We wanted it so bad. Every day we talked about it. Every day we wanted it. And we came and got it. I was happy.
Tequila, was it tough when you're down 17 points? And I assume that might have been early in the fourth quarter, maybe late in the third quarter. Is it tough, or do you guys understand maybe how good your team can be to come back down 17 points with 10, 12 minutes left in the game and get wins? Do you guys kind of have that kind of confidence?
At first it was tough. Yeah, and we do have that kind of confidence because we all know that we're a second half team and we're going to come back. So I wasn't really worried about that at the end, but we played hard and we got the dub.
Valon, have you kind of told these ladies about how difficult Northland is, what they bring? You got to give her the microphone though. Otherwise I'll be able to hear, but nobody else will be able to hear. Have you told them what Northland brings? That they're one of the teams out there that you guys really have to go after?
From the beginning of the year, like it been Northland all year. So when it came to Northland, we just had to crack down and go get it.
That's what it is. Coach, talk about maybe an adjustment or something that came through at the end of the game that allowed you guys to come back. It's like I said, it's tough to come back 17 points at any juncture of the game.
It really is, and I feel like, the ladies' will was number one. I mean, they just were determined not to lose, and so they locked them down defensively. Matter of fact, the last 4 minutes we held them without a goal, and without a field goal, and that was obviously the difference. But we switched defenses. We started off man-to-man and had some success with that, but got a little bit in foul trouble, and then we switched to the 1-3-1 and were able to contain them, and then they got a little run on us, and so we switched up to the 2-3, and that really shut them down the stretch.
I always like the 1-3-1. Excuse me, I'm a big fan of the 1-3-1. I think you extend out from the basket so far that point can almost play out to the half court line. Who's on the point of the 1-3-1?
Me.
Do you enjoy that spot?
Yes, it's hard work, but I like being up there.
Do you kind of feel like, and this is, I know we've got a girl on the Bronco girls basketball team, she thinks of herself as a pest on the top of that 1-3-1 or on the top of that 1-2-2. Do you kind of go in with that mindset that you're out there to pest, you're out there to harass the other team and make them very uncomfortable?
Yep, sideways. Wherever the ball goes, I goes. They go that way, I gotta run all the way over there. But I like it because my teammates help me.
And how do they help you? What do they do behind you? You must have eyes in the back of your head, Deja.
Yeah,
in order to be.
I know what they're gonna do. If the ball goes to the corner, the person that's in the back, they go trap. The person on the side of me go trap the corners, and I get the first pass away. So we know what we have to do in the 1-3-1. So we do it.
Does that allow you to get out and think cherry picking a little bit?
I love cherry picking. I don't know why, but I love cherry picking.
And of course, for those of you that aren't familiar with the term cherry picking, that's when the team behind you and you just kind of, just as the ball maybe is getting shot, or you just leak out a little bit,
Yep,
and you get
that's me.
behind the plate. Of course, you can't do that in hockey for the hockey fans in town. That would be offside. You don't get to do that. But in basketball, they don't have that rule. Definitely, you guys came back from the break. You guys got some time to go back home, and you got to live. I assume you went back home, and you still came back. Even though you knew how cold it was, you still came back. Was it difficult to come back?
No, I'm from Chicago. It was snowing up there
That's
already.
true. And so it's always cold and windy there.
Yeah.
How about for you, Deja? Tough to come back?
Yes, I'm from Texas. Whoa.
This morning you can handle, right? This isn't too bad.
Yep.
Tequila?
It was. I had to really debate. I was debating so hard, but I came back because I was like, y'all coming back? Oh, yeah, okay. I guess we're coming back.
Valon, you had to come back, right? There was no other choice, right? You were coming back, whether or not. So you guys come back from the break. You guys had a pretty good pre-Christmas record and whatever, but have things gotten better since you got back, Devaney? Or are you guys kind of maybe right here now going to hopefully make a jump up? How do you feel the team's playing?
I feel like we definitely have became closer. Like, we're small, but that just make us even stronger, like, together. Like, you see teams that got, like, 14 players and stuff, but we have this lucky 7 and, like, sticking with it.
Oh, I like that.
The Lucky 7. You made it into new team phrase. T-shirts, I got a feeling coming. Lucky 7. And I think the coach knows somebody who does like T-shirts and that kind of stuff. He's got somebody's got a business real close. Yeah. Anyway, Deja, this is you've been named Player of the Week this past week. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And I'm sure the first people that you want to thank are some of the girls.
Of course.
Sitting alongside you, you say you come from Texas, and we had the other ladies on the previous show back in December. So what part of Texas are you from?
Houston.
Houston.
Yep, Houston.
And how does a young lady from Houston end up in International Falls?
I ask myself that every day. I do, like, seriously, I wake up and Deja, where you at? Minnesota. How you get in Minnesota? I don't know, but I'm happy I'm up here, though. Playing with my teammates, coach. I like it up here.
Valon, last time you were here, we talked about the cooking. That your person to your right, the food that she made. The cooking's done. Horrible.
Well, I didn't say it, so don't
She's basically the mother of the dorm. So
Yeah,
when the team hungry, she cooks.
She cooks, and it hasn't been good lately.
No, it's been good.
It's been good. I know you were kidding. You've been kidding. What have you been cooking, Tequila, recently? What's the new? What did you learn over Christmas break that you came back with a meal that the team really likes?
They eat the same thing, so I don't think I have to learn anything new. But
They're just happy that you're cooking, right?
when they're ready to eat something different, I'll learn.
Okay. How are the Uno games been going? Because this has been playing on my mind since the last time we talked. There hasn't been any Rock'em Sock'em Uno games, didn't they? Has there?
Nah.
No?
It's been pretty smooth.
How about Monopoly?
Monopoly.
We haven't played. Yes.
Monopoly gets a little crazy?
Yeah.
Still get a little crazy. Today you guys play Itasca at home. What do you guys, have you played Itasca yet this year?
Yeah, we beat them.
We beat them? By how much? Ooh,
30.
30 points. Okay, I'll hand the microphone over to Coach. Does this get you concerned that you've already beat Itasca by 30 and maybe we're going, we'll just kind of skate through this one? Does that concern you?
Oh, well, we addressed that yesterday, believe me.
Yeah?
We didn't want to have a letdown after a big win, and our motto has always been respect all, fear none, and so we're going to give them all the respect. They've always been a strong program. They've gotten off to a little bit of a slow start, but that doesn't mean they're not capable of pulling off a big win. And we're going to make sure that's not against us. So we're ready. We're going to try to control the tempo. I think that's the key to us playing at a high level.
And the tempo needs to be where? On a scale of 0 being slow and 10 being ungodly fast? What's the tempo number that this team needs to be at to be successful?
Well,
Okay, I'm going to ask Coach first, and then you guys all get a chance to respond back. I'll let you go.
Well, Devaney's our throttle, so she understands that we gotta sometimes amp it up to 9 or 10, and then sometimes bring it back down to 3 or 4, and get the best out of both parts of our game. But we want to come out in a full court press today and really put some pressure on their guards and challenge their passing and see if we can't create some turnover and rush their offense a little bit.
Devaney, what's the number from 0 to 10?
Okay, so sometimes it's at a 10, and then I get the little voices from my teammates, slow down, D. So I had to bring it back to like a 7. So it kind of depends on the pace, but most of the time it's a high pace, to keep the other team off balance, and that's what really works for us.
Deja, where you want that number to be?
Should be at a 10 because I love running. I be down the court with my hand up, like, throw the ball.
Tequila, how about for you? Where do you want to see that pace at? Now you got to remember, folks, Tequila's, 6'1", 6'2"?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of running, but it should be at like a 8 to 10.
Keep that number up there. Valon, how about for you? Where's that
We
number?
break the scale.
We got to break
Yeah, break the scale.
We got to break the scale. We got to get it out there. Coach, last week I had Coach Bill Engel on, and I asked him, Northern Division, where are we sitting at? Who are the teams out there that are sitting at the top? Because now we've been through the pre-game, the before Christmas games. Everybody's kind of had a chance to show their hand and see what's going out there. Who are the top 3-4 teams in the Northern Division?
Well, we're sitting at 3-0, leading the pack. We got Hibbings 2-1, and Northland soon to be 2-1, and Central Lakes. We got a nice team. They're 2-0 right now, and Mesabi's a very competitive team. So I think you got, the way I'm seeing it right now, you got about 5 teams that are in the mix, and Vermilion and Itasca, haven't competed quite as well, but yet on.
And Fond du Lac doesn't have a team, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
Fond du Lac doesn't have a team, so we're going to replace that game down there with a team called the Duluth Area All-Stars, some college graduates from area schools down there, and so we don't lose that game.
You guys came back after the break. You mentioned Hibbing coach, and that of course goes back 2 Fridays. You guys go down to Hibbing. Hibbing's ranked number 7 in the nation, and you guys get a win. Talk about what that did for the confidence of this team, Devaney.
It completely boosted the confidence from Tequila locking down the big to us locking down their guards. Like, that opened our eyes to realize, like, we're that number 1 team.
Deja, you kind of feel the same way about that? That's exactly what you guys needed to do to try to jumpstart the second half of the season?
Absolutely. When we got the win against Hibbing, it just felt like we can beat anybody. So that's what we always go into the game thinking, we can beat anybody. So we just stay together, really.
Valon, you're the elder of the crew here. There's a big
homie.
there's big games coming up obviously throughout the rest of the season. Which one of those games kind of is the best measuring stick coming up maybe over the next couple of weeks that you're telling these girls they're all important, we know that, but this one we got to get?
Once again, Northland.
Once again, Northland. That's where it is. That it is Northland. That is the one. And of course, I've been around for a few years. This is my 24th year in the Falls, and Northland always seems to come back around, Coach. You guys play them in the regular season very tight, and then you guys always seem like you get them in the playoffs somewhere, either in the semifinals or the championship game. So you already know how big a game it is. What date do you guys play in Northland?
February 3rd.
Holy smoke, she's got it memorized Saturday.
Yeah,
So Valon's got this stuff down. Tequila, what's it going to take to get a better start the next time against Northland so that you guys aren't trailing by 17 points and needing to come back?
Lock down their bigs, like, right away, because that's the main one who score their points.
Okay.
Stay out of foul trouble.
That.
Ooh,
And stay out of foul trouble, because
that is cool.
I'm quick.
Especially if you're going to be, what do you call us, the lucky 7.
Yep.
If you're only going to have 7, then you better stay out of foul trouble because you're going to get yourself into trouble in 40 minutes. Ladies, thanks for being here this morning.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for coming in and congratulations on a great start to the season. Let's keep this thing going. Let's make a run to the national tournament. How's that sound?
Yep,
Perfect.
sounds good.
Devin A. Gross, Deja Monroe, Tequila DeGreat, Valon Mobley, and head coach Dieter Humbert joining me. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with Ken Kruger of the Arrowhead 135 Ultra Marathon. You're listening to Coach's Corner, live from Hardee's on K104 and online at rjbroadcasting.com. Welcome back to Coach's Corner, and I'm joined by Ken Kruger of the Arrowhead 135, and I'm going to check to see which microphone you're on. Go.
Here, right this one.
Oh, hang on, try again. I got you. All right. So, and we're joined. We're going to talk about the Arrowhead 135, which is how many years now, Ken? This is going to be like 12?
This is the 14th annual.
year. And of course, if you're not familiar with the Arrowhead 135 Ultra Marathon, I'm going to try to give you my best description of it. And I probably have given you this description because I think we've had Ken on 3 or 4 years in a row. This is the crazy people. These are some true athletes, people that go out and put not only physically but mentally and emotionally put themselves on the line for anywhere from 15 to 60 hours out in the wilderness, running with wolves, biking with wolves, skiing with wolves. That's the way I look at it. They had the movie back in the 80s called Dancing with Wolves. This is nuts to me. And this goes from International Falls to Fortune Bay down in Tower, and it's 135 approximately miles long, and it just keeps going, right, Ken?
Yeah, it's become an annual event, almost like a family reunion. About 2/3 of our racers are return racers that have been here before.
I said last night I was doing the girls' hockey game on the radio, and I had a few moments to discuss Coach's Corner this morning, and I mentioned that you were going to be on, and I told the people, and I'll tell them again this morning, if you have not been out to watch the beginning of this race, it begins at 7 o'clock on Monday the 29th. You should get yourself out of bed, get dressed before you go to work, and you should show up about 6:30, 6:40, cold, warm, snowy, rainy, doesn't matter, and go watch these people, what's the right word, associate with one another. Because it's not a competition. Well, it is a competition, but you talked more about it being a family thing, and that's the thing. People helping people, hugging one another. Great to see you. Haven't seen you since last year, et cetera, et cetera. What are you doing? How are you feeling? You're all packed up. Do you need anything? Are you short anything? To me, it boggles my mind when I come watch every year.
Yeah, and it's like that on the trail too. If you're stopped, virtually every single person that comes by you will make sure you're okay.
It's an interesting thing, and again, it's an individual sport, or it's an individual race, but it really comes down to doing the right thing, being the right kind of person, I guess, for lack of a better term. Where are these people coming from? Where's the farthest person? I know we've had people from Brazil and Europe and everywhere else. How about this year? Who's coming in?
Okay, so we have a first ever racer from Switzerland.
Okay.
Sweden, a couple from England, one from France, a lot of Canadian provinces. We have one from India, although I'm not sure he's going to make it or not. And we have Brazilians, about 30 United States represented as well.
And so we're starting with 160, is that correct? About?
As of this morning, we're at 159.
159. How many runners?
Okay, so we have 76 on bike, 69 on foot, 5 on foot using kick sleds, and 8 skiers.
Okay, so explain the kick sled to us non-kick sledders.
So traditionally, a person on foot would pull a sled or use a backpack, and almost all of them will ride down the hills on their sleds.
Okay.
A kick sled is basically a sled that is on skis, and you can put one foot on the runner and kick yourself forward. So it's faster and more efficient than on foot, given good snow conditions.
These people are self-sufficient. They've got to carry everything with them. So when we talk about running or biking, as you mentioned, a lot of people are either pushing or pulling a sled. And I guess the first time that I came out there, in my brain, it didn't sink in until I saw these people and the myriad of ways that they hook themselves to these sleds with rods, with ropes, with harnesses, with everything else. You're self-sufficient.
Right. So this race is ranked as one of the 50 hardest endurance challenges on Earth. One of the things that makes it so very difficult is you get little to no support during the race. There's 3 checkpoints. One of the checkpoints offers only water. There's also mandatory survival gear, minus 20 sleeping bags, bivy sacks, fuel, stoves, insulated water containers, fire starters, etc. And when it's very cold, as long as you keep moving, you can stay warm, but you still have to get something to eat and drink. And so those breaks, making your breaks very quick and efficient, is a really key strategy. So people like the ropes because you can just pull your sled up and get into it quick. The only problem with ropes is going downhill, then your sled wants to run you over or tip over. So it's all a juggling act.
Sure. So it seems to me last year and the last 2 years, actually, the runners, or the bikers, excuse me, the race has been the winner's been in the second place within 1 or 2 seconds.
Yeah, they typically will stay together as a lead pack because nobody wants to give up. And typical races, it's a sprint finish at the end. And they'll literally be drafting off each other.
Just like the Tour de France is what you're trying to...
Well, but at a slower pace.
At a slower pace.
But nobody wants to give anybody an edge. And I've been there when the lead pack comes into checkpoints and it's like wolves on a kill. I mean, they are in and out and fast and efficient, and they're just... Coca-Cola, I mean, they love Coke at checkpoints, and they don't drink it. It's just down. Just chug it, and bowl of soup, there's no spoon involved. Just tip it down your throat and go. It's quite amazing.
So 2 years ago, I think the winner of the bike was in 15 hours flat. But last year, didn't it go in the 14s or the 13s?
The 13s. And I honestly don't remember it, but yeah, it was a new course record last year. And from a rookie racer. I did forget one thing. So I mentioned this is one of the toughest races on Earth, and the fact that we have very little support. This will be our second year offering a totally unsupported option, which makes it even harder. So the racers that elect to go totally unsupported get no water, no warming up, no food, no anything at checkpoints. So they have to melt their own water, carry their own food start to finish. And this year we have right around 50 people signed up.
50?
Yes. So that makes an incredibly hard race, just orders of magnitude harder.
So you said this is the second year of it. Last year you had what?
I want to say 24.
24, okay, so 50. So could this become the trend in a few years where this becomes unsupported for everybody to even make it more difficult?
I don't see that happening. Okay. That's a special kind of crazy.
And we talked about that. We were mentioning at the start that I talked about the fact that I thought with the warm conditions right now, running would be impossible out on the trails. Biking would be very difficult, and the skiing would also be very difficult. But you said you talked to a skier who said it was very good, the skiing.
Yep. Yesterday I had a skier said 6 miles an hour with no effort.
So does this race need more snow for the bikers to make the trails a little smoother so that the groomers can get out and kind of pack it down a little bit? Or is there enough snow out in the woods and we don't have to worry about the warmer temperatures we're getting here over the few days to mess up the trails?
Well, what I promise every year, I promise the racers that the trail will be perfect. And every year the trail is perfect. And some years it's perfect for going fast. And last year we had ideal conditions, very mild weather, really nice hard trail, and set a lot of records. Some years the trail is perfect in that it's soft and hard and cold and slow. So it's perfect in its own way every year. The harder the trail is, the better it is for almost everybody. We, however, in 13 years, our finish rate is right about 52%. Last year we were at 82%, so wow. that bumped it up a lot. So we'd like to keep it less than 50. So we need a nice, cold, hard weather year.
Well, and you told me, I was very surprised. You told me you had not looked at the weather to make that happen. You haven't even looked at it because, unfortunately, you know that you can't control it, right? So just let her go.
Right. The only thing I know, I haven't heard anything too severe coming.
Okay, so people that want to follow along, like myself, because I'm that kind of crazy, there's a website out there. I know I was following along with the races. Do you know what the website is? I'm sure you do.
Arrowheadultra.com, and our web administrator keeps it updated really well during the race. He does an awesome job, considering that our midway checkpoint, there's not even cell service there. There's not cell service during a lot of the course, so they do a lot of work to keep that updated and keep track of racers. We also, this will be our second year using track leaders, so racers can voluntarily carry a satellite tracking device, so you can track them live, real time, which actually helps us because we can see where the leaders are when they're coming in checkpoints.
Well, I know last year I was doing that on Monday night. The race starts on a Monday morning, and Monday night I think I had a basketball game that I went to, and I came home at 9 o'clock and I took out my phone and I brought up the website, and the racers were just about done because this was like 9 o'clock, and that was 14 hours in, so it had to be a shade before that because you said 13 hours, and I'm like, they're going to finish this thing in record time. So it's fun to go on there and look at the website, and like you said, you can see where the runners are, where the bikers are at, those leaders, and it makes it very, for a very remote race, it makes it easy to follow.
Yeah, my wife hates it when I do these and she doesn't know where I am. So I'm actually racing this year as well, and so my wife made me get a spot tracker. So
I probably could understand.
I might put it in the leader's bike though.
And make her think that you're really leading the pack. Well, there you go.
She knows me better than that.
What else do we need to talk about, Ken? Is this? I know last year I talked about volunteers. I'm sure this is past the point of where you're saying, "Geez, we still need volunteers." But can they get a hold of you, and maybe for next year, for 2019, they can go, I'd love to be over there in the mornings helping to register people, or be at a checkpoint and go out in the middle of nowhere and watch these people come in.
It truly is a life-changing experience, this race, and the volunteers get I mean, to see people do this is quite amazing. We have volunteers. We have one guy that has it in his job contract that he gets vacation during Arrowhead to volunteer. And if anything, we have more than adequate volunteers. People are really generous with volunteering, and they are so caring and giving. And some of your fondest memories as a racer will be of the volunteers that help you. I did have a couple other notes I thought were interesting. We have 8 couples doing the race this year.
Okay.
So that's pretty interesting. Couple, father-son, father-daughter type of things.
Okay.
Our oldest racer this year will be 75 years old. He finished 4 or 5 years ago, so he is our oldest finisher. Youngest racer will be 26 years old. We have a special trophy for people that have done it all 3 ways, run, bike, and ski. We have 12 people trying for that trophy this year.
And you're one of those people who have that.
I am, and now I forget, I think there's only 11 of us.
And there's 12 people trying for it this year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And typically you save the hardest one for last, so it. And also, just give a shout out. We have one racer. He's tried the race a couple times and never crossed the finish line. He's been close, but never quite made it. Quit his job. He's been living in International Falls for about 5 weeks, training and acclimating, and so I'm giving a special shout out for Bill, and I hope to see you at the finish line.
This is a 60-hour race. You got to finish within 60 hours. The bikers usually don't have any trouble getting there. The runners, kinda maybe, but the skiers are the ones that, or is it the runners that have the toughest part?
The skiers, we have I believe an Olympic biathlon skier this year. The skiers have shattered the skiing record the last couple of years, and I expect some really fast ski times this year. The skiers, off the top of my head, the record's 22 hours.
Okay.
So they can be right up there.
At the finish line, you talk about getting across the finish line. There's no check at the end There's just a trophy, right, or a medal or something. What? Am I correct on that?
You are absolutely correct.
There's no check. So these people are doing this. It's not like going and running Grandma's Marathon and you're going to win and you walk out with a $5,000 or $10,000 check. You get a trophy or a plaque or something, and
call it bragging rights. Yep.
You also wanted to talk about Taekwondo.
Oh yes. Thank you. I am the local instructor, or one of the local instructors for Taekwondo, and just put a shout out. We're starting new beginners classes this Tuesday. Classes are Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:45 at Falls Elementary Gym or Cafeteria. Classes are designed for students 10 years and older. We love having adults. We love having families. And it would be awesome if anybody can show up, and that is sponsored by Community Ed.
And you find time to get this all done with the race organization and training to boot. When do you sleep? People ask me that same question.
I have a very understanding wife.
They're very essential in order to be able to make that happen. Ken, best of luck next week. This race starts on Monday the 29th. Best of luck with everything. I hope everything goes just as you've got it planned.
Thank you.
Ken Kruger joining me here this morning. We'll take a final break and we'll come back and we'll wrap it up here from Hardee's. You're listening to the Coach's Corner on K104 and online at rjbroadcasting.com. Welcome back to Coach's Corner as we take our final segment here, and we had such great talks this morning. We're kind of short on time, so we'll try to get through this as quickly as possible. Let's head back to last Saturday. The Bronco boys basketball team was down in Proctor. They lose by a final score of 91-34. The Bronco boys hockey team was at home as they took on the St. Paul Johnson Governors for the first time in 47 years. The last time the only 4 times they had played previously were in the state tournaments. The Broncos get a 5-2 win as Simon Palm got a couple of goals. Gus Lawrence and Trimble Butler also had goals, and Butler had a pair of goals as well. The Bronco girls hockey team got a 12-2 win over Crookston. Every girl that's a skater was on the scoring sheet either with a goal or an assist. How's that for a great day for Bronco girls hockey? The Bronco girls basketball team got a 72-26 win over Two Harbors at home as Grace Gilbert led the way with 15 points. The Rainy River women's basketball team, who we talked to earlier, they got a 94-46 win over Vermilion. Deja Monroe led the way with 29. The men got a 62-50 lead with about 15 minutes left against Vermilion, but Vermilion outscored them 49-26 over the final minutes of that game to defeat Rainy 101-88. Devarius Wright had 23. The Fort Francis Lakers trailed 2-1 after 20 minutes, but they got the last 5 goals in the second and third periods to get a 6-2 win last Saturday. The Fort Francis girls volleyball team, they were in a 10-team round-robin tournament in Kenora. They end up taking third place in that tournament on Friday and Saturday. Last Sunday at the Rainy River Community College Gymnasium, the Knights of Columbus had their free throw championship. In the girls divisions, 9-year-old Aliana Koenig. For the 9-year-olds, 10-year-old Eliza Sailors, 11-year-olds Kira Hessedal, and the 12-year-olds went to Kelby Anderson. For the boys, 10-year-olds Dominic June, 11-year-olds Thomas Larson, 12-year-old Kaylin Murray, and 14-year-old Bryant Koenig. They all will head on to the district tournament coming up in February. The Muskie Curlers were in Atikokan for the Norwassa qualifier. The boys, they went 5-0 over the course of 2 days. The girls went 4-1, and the mixed team went 3-0 as they all qualify for the Norwassa coming up in February. The Bronco girls basketball team on Monday, they hosted ESCO, the defending Section 7-2A champions. It was tight throughout, and the Broncos had a chance late in the ball game, but ESCO hangs on for a 49-46 win. Emma Gilbert had 21 points. The LBF girls lost to Big Fork 71-18 as Emily Franz had 10 points for the Vikings. The Fort Francis basketball team on Monday, they lost to Dryden 78-69 as Kobe Ward led the way with 32 points. The Fort Francis girls volleyball team, they win in 4 sets over Dryden. On Tuesday, Deja Monroe, one of our guests here, she was named Northern Division Player of the Week for the second time this season. The Bronco boys in swimming, it was an awesome Tuesday, and I don't care if we go past 10 o'clock here. I'm going to tell the story the right way because these two stories deserve it. The Bronco boys swimming and diving team, they took on Evelyn Gilbert. Evelyn Gilbert comes with 8 swimmers to this meet, and they did the best they could, but the Broncos get their first dual win in nearly 7 seasons. Congratulations, boys. It was fun to be there. I didn't get to stay till the end because of other commitments, but it was great to see you guys win. They win by a final score of 85-65. It ended a 39 straight dual loss streak for the Broncos, and Alex Bellinger took first in the 200 free and the 100 free. Ben Keeney took first in the 200 IM. Tanner Sether first in the 50 free. Jake Slatinsky first in the 500. Logan Phillips took first in diving. Alex Bissonette first in the 100 fly. As Evelyn Gilbert did win all 3 relays, despite only having 8 swimmers, but the Broncos come up with their first win in nearly 7 years. Speaking of streak breakers, the LBF boys basketball team had lost 42 straight. They were at home on Tuesday night hosting Northeast Range. They had to go to overtime, but they get a 54-52 win in overtime to break that 42-game losing streak, and the streak that had nearly gotten to 2 years. Matt Kennedy had 20 and Mason Borman had 19. The Bronco boys hockey team was at home against Evelyn Gilbert on Tuesday night. They lose by a final score of 6-3. The Bronco girls basketball team hosted Northwoods on Tuesday. They win by a final score of 81-57. Jenna Sullivan led the Broncos with 20 points. The Bronco boys basketball team was in Evelyn. Their first trip of 3 to the range this week. They get a 61-52 win over Evelyn Gilbert. Armando Barrios had 23 points. On Wednesday, Rainy River played host to Northland, as we talked about. They get the big comeback win after trailing by 17 points, and they win by a score of 62-58. Deja Monroe had 23. The men also had a tight win over Northland by a score of 79-72. Devarius Wright led the way with 23 points. On Thursday, the Bronco boys basketball team lost to Hibbing on the road by a final score of 82-50, as Armando Barrios had 23 points for the second straight game. The girls basketball team won 71-32 over Duluth Denfeld. The Viking boys basketball team lost to Nashua Keewatin 82-24, and the girls lost to Lake of the Woods 71-24 on Thursday. Last night, a game heard on K104, the Bronco girls hockey team gets a 3-0 win over the North Shore Storm. Grace Wagner got the shutout in goal. Amber Thielander had a pair of goals. The Bronco boys basketball team, they get a big exciting win last night in Aurora as they take down Masabi East 55-54. Taylor Wilson, the hero, he hits a three-pointer at the buzzer to win 55-54. The LBF Viking boys, they lose to Big Fork by a final score of 94-55. Of course, going on today, the Icebox Days race is going on, so again, please be careful as the 10K race just about getting ready to start. Make sure you stay tuned for updates as I will be heading over to Bacchus to get updates and interviews with the winners, and you can hear those interviews starting right around 11:30 this morning. The Bronco boys swimming and diving team is down in Duluth for the True Team Section True Team meet at Duluth Denfeld. Divers already been underway for about an hour. The swimmers go at 1 o'clock. The boys hockey team is going to be at home at 3 o'clock. You can hear that game at 2:40 with the pregame and the drop of the puck at 3 o'clock against Duluth Denfeld. The Bronco Titan Wrestlers are out in Thief River Falls for their invitational. The Rainy River basketball teams are at home at 1 and 3 today against Itasca, and the Lakers are at home tonight against Thunder Bay at 7:30 at Ice for Kids Arena. We'll have Wild Hockey on the air pregame at 7:45 as they take on the Tampa Bay Lightning to wrap up Hockey Day in Minnesota. We'll have one game on Monday. It'll be the Little Fork boys as they take on Southridge. We'll have that game for you on the air. Tuesday, we'll have Bronco boys basketball against Virginia on the air as they are at home. The Lakers will be at home against Thief River Falls, and the Viking basketball team, the boys will be at home against Kelly or Northholm. The girls at Cherry. On Wednesday, the men's basketball team will be down at Fond du Lac for a game. Thursday, the big crazy day in January. Every year we get to talk about this. Almost all the area teams in action on Thursday. We'll just start right at the top of my list. I'll be in Aurora to bring you Bronco girls basketball. The Bronco boys basketball team will be home against Warroad. The Bronco hockey team will be at home against North Shore. That game starts at 6:30. The boys swimming and diving team will be in Virginia for a triangular. The girls hockey team will be in Hibbing for a huge matchup against the Blue Jackets, and both Viking basketball teams will be at home against Hill City. The girls start at 5:45. The boys play at 7:15 in back-to-back games. Friday, Bronco boys hockey team 2 nights in a row. This time they'll be at home against Greenway. The Lakers at home against Thunder Bay. The LBF Viking boys will be in Ely, and the Rainy River men's and women's basketball teams will be in Brainerd to take on Central Lakes. Next Saturday, Bronco girls hockey, another big Section 7A game as they host Moose Lake area. The Lakers will be in Thief River Falls next Saturday for a 7 o'clock game. The Rainy River women's hockey teams are scheduled to play St. Scholastica, and the Wrestlers will be down in Grand Rapids for the Skip Nayland, and that's where Coach's Corner will come from next Saturday, as we'll be down there, and we are going to talk wrestling. We're going to talk about with the Broncos, the Titans. We're going to talk to John Nayland, Skip Nayland's son, and we're going to talk wrestling next week. Kind of become of a traditional show that we do during the winter, where we take an entire show and we talk wrestling. Thanks again to all my guests. Thanks to Ryan back at the station for pushing all the buttons. Thanks to Dave and his crew for taking care of our guests here at Hardy's. But most of all, thank you for listening to Coach's Corner. Live from Hardy's on K104 and online at rjbroadcasting.com.
Was it chores?